Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about public charge and some of the community resources that we have compiled here at the ACLU of Colorado. My name is Catherine. I am an intern here for the summer at the ACLU of Colorado. We know we were supposed to do a webinar back in July on public charge, but due to the government injunction, we decided to wait to release information until we knew more of what was going on. So we hope this can be helpful to you. So first, we're going to start just with an overview of public charge and what it means. So public charge is what we call a ground of inadmissibility. So these are reasons that someone could be denied a green card or a visa into the United States. So if someone is likely to become dependent on government benefits, that is when they can rule someone as a public charge. These rules went into effect February 24th of 2020. They were put on hold by the injunction. And being found a public charge means essentially that you can be denied residency status in the United States. So the people most affected by public charge are those who are applying for residency, which is also known as a green card or lawful permanent residency status. And if they applied before February 24th, 2020, they are not reviewing those applications under the new public charge rules. They applied after February 24th of 2020, those will have been reviewed under the new public charge rules. And I just want to note that there were public charge rules in effect before February 24th of this year, but they were a lot more lenient, and these new rules are a lot strict and have a lot more different parts. And so just to note also, these rules do not apply to those seeking asylum, to refugees, most of the TNU visas, and then people applying under the Violence Against Women Act. So to determine if someone is a public charge, they're weighing different factors. And these can be heavily negative, heavily positive, or just negative and positive factors. There's not a set amount of factors that someone can have that they're saying. They're not saying that you need 2 negative factors or 2 positive factors to be labeled a public charge, but they have announced that the determination is made by the USCIS officers, so it kind of depends. And what's new about these new rules is that they're really hitting hard on if people have received public benefits in the past, and these include cash aid, Medicaid, SNAP, any Section 8 housing, or federally subsidized housing, so essentially big public benefits that people can get access to. And then along with those, they're also looking at English proficiency, credit scores, medical conditions, access to private health insurance, and income level of people. And so here's just a graphic showing specifically what the heavily positive and heavily negative factors are. So in negative, if someone is authorized to work, meaning they have a work permit, a work visa, but they are not currently working or look as though they're not going to be able to get a job, and they're not supported, say by a spouse or relative, that can be a heavily weighted negative factor. If someone has been approved to receive public benefits or has applied for public benefits, especially over an aggregate of 12 months, has a heavily negative factor. And that aggregate means that, say you receive 2 public benefits for 6 months, those added together would equal the 12 months for the heavily negative factor. Anyone diagnosed with a medical condition, especially those who are uninsured or won't be able to pay, that is a heavily negative factor. Or if you were previously declared a public charge because the old rules were less stringent, then that can also be a heavily negative factor. As far as heavily positive factors, if your family makes over 250% of the federal poverty guidelines, then that is a heavily positive factor. It means you're less likely to become a public charge in the future and you have means to support yourself and your family. And also if you have private health insurance, that's a heavily weighted positive factor. And then they're also looking at your age, your health, family status, assets and resources. So if you own a house or a car, your education and skills, self-sufficiency, and if you can file an affidavit of support, which is essentially a family member stating that they will be able to pay if you are unable to in the future. And so real quick, I want to go over the I-944, which is the Declaration of Self-Sufficiency, which is what people have to fill out when they are applying for residency now. And this kind of goes over all the different things and all the different documents you have to prove these things that they're looking at when declaring someone a public charge. So they'll ask for household income. This means you have to submit your most recent federal income tax returns, also any income from public benefits you receive. They will be asking for your household assets if you own a house, proof of that. Then also your liabilities and debts. So they'll ask for your mortgage, how much you owe on car loans, credit card loans, tax debts, or any other type of loans that you have and proof of those. They'll also ask for a credit report. And most likely you'll have to submit one from the United States if you have been living in the United States, and then also from your country where you hold citizenship. And also if you've ever filed bankruptcy. And then a big one is proof of health insurance. So if you can prove that you have health insurance, or that upon getting residency you are approved to get private health insurance, that can be a really positive factor. And then they're looking at the public benefits. So you'll have to state what public benefits you've received or applied for in the past. And this is where the public charge really comes in, because they'll be able to see exactly what benefits you've received. So they'll go over all of these: any income maintenance program, Social Security, TAMP, General Assistance, SNAP, which was previously food stamps, Section 8 housing, Medicaid, and then any USCIS fee waivers you've applied for. As far as education and skills, they're looking that you have a high school diploma or a GED or higher education. If you have that, that's a positive factor. If you have not reached a high school level education, then that is a negative factor. Occupational skills include any licenses or certifications you've received. So if you have any work type licensing or certifications, those are positive factors. And then English proficiency also is looked at. If you've taken any English classes, they want proof of that. Or if you can prove that you grew up speaking English, that is also a positive factor. And now going in specifically to some of the resources we've found at the ACLU, we have both of these sites. And so this first site is our All Are Welcome microsite, and it has a list of different counties and what resources are available in each county in Colorado. All of these resources should be available to anyone regardless of immigration status. And then on the second sheet, we also have the same resources with a little bit more information. And they also note whether that resource could possibly affect someone on a public charge test. So if you're concerned about that, go ahead and take a look at that spreadsheet. They're highlighted in yellow if they could possibly have an effect on public charge. But some of the biggest areas of questions we've got, we're going to take a look at. So as far as COVID testing, treatment, and vaccines, there's a lot of different resources out there now to help pay for those. And if you are using a public resources to pay specifically for something related to COVID-19, that the USCIS has said that will not have an effect on public charge, as long as you can prove that you're using those resources only for COVID-19 testing, treatment, or prevention. And then emergency Medicaid has been said that will not count against people in the public charge test because it's being used right now for COVID testing. As far as Medicaid goes, you will have to report Medicaid on your forms, and so that can be a negative factor, but if you can prove that you were only using it for COVID-19 testing, prevention, or treatment, then that can mitigate kind of the effect of that in theory. School lunch assistance or for reduced lunch, those will not have an effect on public charge. So if your kids are enrolled in free or reduced lunch, that is not looked at. And then as far as food banks, those also do not affect public charge. So please go to food banks, please access those resources and get the food that your family needs. Looking at rent payment assistance and utility payment assistance programs, they're a little more complicated. So if you are unsure, please talk to an attorney before you apply for those resources. If it is, in general, if it is paid for by a public program, so if it's paid for by the state or a local government or federally funded, that is more likely to have an effect on public charge, especially if it's a recurring payment of some sort. If it is going simply towards a one-time emergency payment of some sort, and it is funded by some type of organization, private organization that's like a nonprofit, those will likely not have an effect on public charge. BEEP, they have said, will not have an effect on public charge. And then as a general, as I said, if it's a one-time specific benefit that's coming from a private organization, those are less likely to count under public charge. And then we really want to highlight this resource. So the Colorado PUBT is for families with kids who receive free or reduced lunch. This is a new program that was released in July. If your kids currently receive free or reduced lunch, then you should automatically be able to qualify. If you receive SNAP, those benefits should appear automatically on your account for SNAP. If you do not receive SNAP, you will have to apply. And what it will give you is a pre-loaded card with the amount of $5.70 per day from March, April, and May when your kids attended school but were not physically in school. So during the coronavirus outbreak, when kids were sent home during those days when they were unable to receive the free or reduced lunch benefits, this is trying to make up for that. And it is just a one-time amount added to your card. And so you'll get essentially like a debit card with that amount on it. And this will have no effect on public charge. So if your kids receive free or reduced lunch, please look into this. And if you want more information, you can email anatemo@aclu-colorado.org. Also, if you want just more general information about the ACLU, you can visit our website. Here are some general references if you want more information on local resources and more information on public charge regulations. Please visit these websites. And I want to thank you for joining us today, and have a good rest of your day.